listen, what we love about the province is that it's growing, and as it grows, we see more entrepreneurs getting into the space of trying to franchise and the like. So today we're looking at some of the pros and cons of franchising, especially from a property acquisition perspective and the likes. And we're talking to broker and owner of REMAX, Philip Skuman. Morning, Philip, you good?
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Great. So are real estate companies getting more requests from people looking for franchising space in the province?
Yes, definitely. And I think the answer is never clear cut and straight.
Okay.
We'll also see what happens between the current talks between Ramaphosa and Trump.
Oh, okay.
A lot of our current national franchises are US based. So that could have, your KFCs has US origins, your McDonald's. There's a lot of our successful franchises that find their origin in the US. There are also some successful South African franchises. And what you'll find most of the time is that a client will already have a franchise approval, because remember, you've got to go through like a credit check and tenant vetting or vetting to be able to get that franchise number one. Now let's say you've acquired it, or you've acquired the rights to it in a specific area. Now it also has a high barrier to entry. So usually you'll have to put down, let's say the franchise costs 3-4 million. Because 5 million, 6 million is roughly what a KFC costs.
Okay.
And you'll have to have half of that at least in unencumbered cash, meaning your setup costs are quite high, but your success rate can also be higher. And these clients will then approach us after they've attained this right to operate the franchise in the area, and then we'll have to look for properties that fit their spec.
Oh, so this is not done during, as part of the application process. It's something they can get afterwards.
Sometimes during, sometimes after, sometimes before. So you might also find other situations or scenarios where I'm a landlord, I have a vacant property which I feel would work well as a McDonald's.
Okay.
Then you'll approach McDonald's and see if you can get the franchise. If they say no, you'll approach Steers, you'll approach KFC. So that there's different ways where people try to enter. They either have the building already, and then they look for a franchise that they think will be suitable there, or they will, try to acquire the franchise, and then they'll contact us and say, listen, we need this. I'm opening a Pedro's, or we had Pedro's recently. And these clients would like to be directly adjacent or very close to a Nando's. They are gunning for Nando's because they similar product, just a little bit cheaper.
Okay. Maybe you can give us a bit of pointers in terms of some of the pros and cons to consider from a property perspective. Because sometimes we see some of the franchises that come into the city of Polokwane, whether in the form of clubs, I don't know if I can, clubs, whatever you call them, eateries, clubs, whatever, restaurants, whatever it is. And then you see like, all right, that didn't last, those kind of things. Maybe let's look at the pros and cons.
So yes, it's highly area and population dependent.
Okay.
Some franchises would work well if they had better management.
Okay.
Some people are looking for plug and play kind of businesses, and each franchise opportunity is not the same. Some businesses require a lot of input. Let's look at a REMAX specifically. You won't be able to really run a REMAX franchise successfully if you don't have industry knowledge and you're not working in the industry. But let's look at a KFC. You don't really need chicken expertise. You're gonna buy centralized. So it's more autonomous. It's higher barrier to entry. It's a reduced risk. But now you also got to jump through a million hoops to be able to get a KFC. And KFC have directly said we're not looking for new franchisees. Because they've already got a sustainable base of people. It's like, if they ascertain there's a feasibility done, that Polokwane needs another KFC, they will approach the guy in Polokwane and say, do you want another one? If he says no, or cannot come up with the cash or whatever, then they'll look externally, but you'll always find within their base, existing base. So this is why, so coming down to some franchises making it or not, some franchises are cheaper, and there are specific websites which you can look for them. to start up a franchise.
And even on the property side of things, in terms of support, you would be able to get that support.
Yeah, so really they are actually looking for the property or the landlord to jump through hoops. It's a question of entitlement, how big you think your brand is, and then they'll try to dictate sometimes impossible measures, looking to be in top spots which are already existing and already existing franchises are there. So it can be quite profitable. You have reduced risk, centralized buying, support systems, training. Those are the pros of it. But cons are that because you're spending so much more money, you need to make a success of it. And it also depends largely on who you are as the investor. Some guys are trying to become wealthy, getting multiple streams of income. Some guys are already wealthy and they are looking to fill a spot that they already own with plug and play businesses. So some franchises like Steers and KFCs are almost completely autonomous. You don't have to be there to run the store. And some of them are more rigorous in terms of expectations. So you'll find a lot of business owners they start up a franchise thinking that it's going to be like a KFC and they don't have to work and they can live from the cash register. A lot of people think that the franchise is going to make way more than it actually is, and then so sometimes these franchises fail because of bad business principles. And sometimes with these smaller franchises, you need 3 or 4 stores to really make a good living.
Sure.
And
maybe sometimes it hits them the amount, like that amount that they need to pay back to.
The franchise fees sometimes kill you. So it largely depends on the model, because each model is different. Some are turnover based, meaning if you didn't do the turnover, you're not paying the royalty. Others are purchasing based, so it means our margin as the franchisor is loaded onto the product. That can sometimes make you uncompetitive in the market.
Because whatever you make already, there's that cut coming off.
It's already there, and your competitors locally are buying products for cheaper, and you have to use the branded product, which could sometimes outprice you in the market. So I think a lot of research is required, and it's still a risk like any business. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But there is less risk when you start a franchise.
Well, look at that. We called Philip over to talk to us about the property side of things, and he ended up giving us a masterclass. So when you see him in the street, give him a high five. Philip, thank you so much. That's Philip Skuman, broken owner of REMAX.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.